Hello, Healthcare Experience Matters listeners. It is your host, Casey Callahan, joined by a repeat guest today, Dr. Michael Smith, who is an academic hospitalist, and he is also the founder of healthcareimprov.com, which we will talk all about. This is a repeat visit to our show, so I'll make sure to link to his first episode in the description of this podcast. So, Dr. Smith, welcome back, and just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
My name is Mike Smith. I'm an academic hospitalist at the University of Nebraska Medical Center in Omaha. I am also a improv performer on nights and weekends at the Backline Theater in Omaha, and I try to blend those two worlds whenever I can.
Improv lessons has helped Dr. Smith become a better communicator with patients, with colleagues. And, we explored all of that in that first episode. So again, I can't emphasize it enough. Please check that one out. But just to refresh our memories here, you received improv lessons as a gift. This wasn't something you actively sought out. So just tell us about that and how it became kind of a significant pivot in your life.
Yeah. So I moved back to Omaha about 9.5 years ago. And that Christmas, my wife got me lessons at the Backline Theater. And prior to that, I had no theater experience. I had never said, I'm going to do this one day, or just once we get to this stage of life, I'm going to try XYZ. It was totally out of the blue. It was in keeping with something that I would enjoy. My wife is a very good gift giver and knows me well. And so I was like, let's give it a shot. And was very nervous to try it. It was outside my comfort zone, and I had no idea anyone who I was doing it with, and just kind of kept it up and kept doing it. And as I would do it, I would implement some of the skills from improv class at work, and it would always receive positive reviews. I think I said this in the first episode, but as I was starting to implement some of the skills at work, my HCAP scores improved more than anyone in my group. And I was very excited. I was like, yeah, look at me. But then I kind of had a moment of panic and realization that I thought I was already excellent at those skills. I thought these are skills that I was already good at. And so I think through my training, a lot of those skills that I was excellent at kind of were left to atrophy. And so improv kind of got them back online and was a venue for me to practice them. And so I never really told anyone that I did improv. It was kind of a secret from my coworkers, not because I was embarrassed, but more because I didn't want to be like the Michael Scott character where it's like, hey, I'm the funny guy. But slowly but surely, as the benefits from improv helped me at work, I started telling people, hey, I do improv. This is how this has helped me. This is how it's kind of changed my view or my approach to these certain problems, and it's really helped me. I reluctantly told people that I did do improv, and so it's not been quite a pivot in my career. It's slowly been augmenting my career more and more, because at a certain point I told some coworkers that I was looking to maybe explore how improv could be used as a teaching tool to medical students and residents because of all the ways that it's helped me. And then they directed me to the head of faculty development at the time. And she was like, hey, do you want to help us using improv on how faculty can be better public speakers? And at the time, I was a very poor public speaker by any metric. Not just like being hard on myself. I was a very bad public speaker. And so that was outside my comfort zone. But we talked about from improv, the main teaching point is yes and. And so I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely help you with that. And so it was something called power presentations. And so I helped with that and told them all the ways that improv had helped me understand body language and communicate better using my body and nonverbal cues. And then from that, we came up with workshops on all the ways that improv has helped me as a physician for faculty development, and that was in 2018. And so at those first faculty development workshops, people came and were like, I don't interact with patients. Will this still help me? And of course, I was like, yes, absolutely. And then just kind of made sure that we discuss things relevant to their professional activity. And then it's just kind of gone on from there. And each um, each workshop brought something new, and so I keep learning new ideas and new experiences through the improv lessons that we go through with various people who kind of add different nuggets and insights to how the exercises can illuminate areas to improve as physicians and healthcare providers.
Well, and speaking of public speaking, one of the main reasons I wanted to have you back on is to talk about the TEDx Omaha talk that you did, which is TED Talks are kind of the pinnacle of the public speaking thing. It's like this is as important as it gets in a grand stage here. I mean, so to go from someone who didn't have any confidence in themselves to delivering this TEDx Omaha talk, I think that's a huge transition. And I want to ask you about that. So, how did that opportunity come about? How did you go from being this person that basically had no confidence in their public speaking abilities to delivering this talk? And I just kind of want to start there because I'm curious. There might be people that are in your shoes right now, how you used to be, and they aren't confident in themselves. And so I'm just curious how you made that transition.
And so it's been a stepwise process, but improv has definitely helped guide how I see it. And the steps to improve were all made easier because of practicing improv. Part of that power presentation, first thing I read all about advice to be a better public speaker. And a lot of it is thinking of it as a performance and not who you are in that moment. And so viewing a public speaking event as a performance will help it get out of your mind that you are up there being judged. It's you're putting on a performance, and any performance is for an audience. And so the focus is really on who you're speaking to and how can you make that as good as possible, as most fulfilling for their experience as possible, which when I step out onto the improv stage, that is what we're doing. We are trying to entertain people. And so kind of that mindset shift away from kind of me focus to how do I direct it outwards towards the people that are watching. That's been the biggest kind of shift in mindset, and practicing improv is actually practicing that as opposed to just it's very easy to read that or hear that and say, oh, right. But to actually practice that and feel the benefit of, yeah, I'm going to direct this outward to make this the best possible experience for the people watching. And then for the TEDx aspect of it, their theme is ideas worth spreading. And so I really felt obligated to do justice to the idea of improv and applied improv uh, and make it something that people want to spread. And so, again, that makes it so much easier that I just have a duty to the idea to help it spread. And I think that scales down to just giving a lecture to your team, like understanding why I'm giving this lecture and the importance of spreading it to the people that are listening.
Yeah, that's really well said. And I know that I was reading about some of the fun names and stuff for the the improv shows that you do. You have team names like the Dad Jokes and Biscuits, and that all sounds fun. So, how has this experience with improv kind of contributed to your personal professional growth? It seems like it's a place where you can kind of have fun, let the hair down a little bit, and in contrast to some of the obviously stressful elements about being in patient care. So just talk to me about that.
Yeah, yeah. And so those are my two main teams, and then I'll be part of improv is forming a team, and I really enjoy coming up with the team names or that process. So it is all a very fun, creative process. And the the teams that I'm on now, I've been I've been performing with them for years. And so what I was just talking about this with someone recently, performing improv, you can have someone who's like had one class come out and have one of the funniest shows ever. It can also be painful to watch because it's so unfunny. And I think as people get better and better, more seasoned improvisers, the that kind of window narrows where it could still be really, really funny, or it could just be kind of funny. And I think mine has narrowed significantly from when I started. But the shows that I do with the teams are once a month, and so it's still frequently, but it's just an opportunity. And so if I have one of those just okay shows, it's kind of disappointing, and I really want to make it better. And so it's improv has been a good mix of being happy with, it was an okay show. People laughed, and I'm not going to beat myself up about it, but I know I can do better. So it's that aspect has really nurtured a growth mindset in me that I I'm very happy with this. I had a ton of fun, but I want to do this better. I want to grow in this way, and that just kind of naturally came about, or I noticed it within the past year or so that we always have okay shows where people come up and say, "Hey, that was really fun, thanks." But I know I can do better, and so I'm both satisfied and not satisfied, and kind of looking to grow. And I think that approach is very helpful at work, knowing that I want to always do better, but I'm not like beating myself up about it. It's kind of developing an inner coach as opposed to an inner critic. The practice of improv does a really good job of nurturing the inner coach.
That's great. Great point. As an academic hospitalist, I know that teaching is a part of what you do, whether it be medical trainees, residents, things like that. Do you use some of these improv techniques when you're teaching others? I'm curious about.
Yeah, definitely. It's helped me be a much better teacher on several levels. Um, it's always an interesting conversation point when I tell my team that I perform improv, so kind of lightens the mood. Uh, then I have the team go through improv games in service of becoming better communicators with our patients, and kind of these ideas of a growth mindset. And at the beginning of the month, just kind of let them know that there are lots of different ways to improve. And so these are some fun ways to improve. And then just the idea of experiencing something is better than just me telling them something. And so just the way I go about teaching things, getting the student or learner to experience the learning point as opposed to just me directly telling them. And as we talked about in the first episode, the idea of connection first. And so, how do I connect with the learner and make sure that they're at a point where they can learn the topic that's being discussed? They have hectic schedules as well. They still do overnight call, and so if they've been up for 26 hours, that may not be the best time for me to teach about hyponatremia. And so just the idea of recognizing my scene partner, recognizing the learner, and connecting with them first has gone a long way to make me a better teacher. And then even above that, just as I organize the improv programs, understanding why people may not sign up for it at this time, but they'll sign up for it that time. And so understanding the realities that all these busy healthcare professionals are dealing with, and how can I make the experience able for them to connect to as easily as possible. So it's helped me in a million different ways, but those are kind of the ways that it's immediately come to mind on several different levels.
Yeah, and I'll encourage everyone listening to today's episode to check out the first episode interview we did together, I would encourage them to check out the TED Talk. And I would also encourage them to visit your website, healthcareimprov.com. And I will provide links to all of those in the description. Any other final thoughts, Dr. Smith, before we wrap it up here?
No, I had just came across the Kurt Vonnegut quote recently, where he recommended practice and art no matter how well or how badly, and how you'll get an enormous reward just from doing it. Improv to me is the easiest entry point, but I've also had people who've come to improv workshops who said practicing the improv reignited their love of drawing or writing. And I think all of those things are great. Improv is very well suited to me, and it's very enjoyable. But I think encouraging people to practice any art will make them more empathetic and help them on their path to being the best healthcare professional they can be. And that's what it has been for me. So.
All right. Dr. Michael Smith has been our guest, an academic hospitalist and founder of healthcareimprov.com. Thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Smith.
Thank you.